Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signore, and Dave Chappelle has just seemingly pulled off the impossible. He's gotten the rights back to the Chappelle Show. So what does that mean? Could we get more Chappelle Show? What happened? Let's break it all down. All right, first I got to thank all of you who watched my first video. My God, 500,000 of you checked out this video of Dave Chappelle going nuclear on Comedy Central as Netflix pulled the show. Obviously, this is for Chappelle. I love reporting on Chappelle, but thank you guys for watching it. This recap is important, though, because if you don't know what I'm talking about, Chappelle had gone to his audience directly, as he calls it, his boss. He asked them to stop watching the Chappelle Show because both Netflix, HBO Max were starting to stream it, and Chappelle wasn't getting any of those residuals. Now, Chappelle had made numerous deal adjustments when he made the deal in the first place and came back for other seasons, but that was for DVD sales. Back then, they didn't know about streaming and what that was going to, how profitable that would be. So Chappelle was getting frustrated seeing it pop up on all the streaming giants. So when he showed up on Netflix, he has a close relationship with Netflix. He asked them directly, and they just pulled it. Because Netflix has proven they're really smart with talent. They want to create that talent relationship, and they want to keep it strong. So therefore, Chappelle keeps bringing him content. It's a huge draw for them. They know the value of Chappelle, and they want Chappelle to be on good terms with them, so he comes and does the next specials with them. HBO Max seemingly doesn't have that same idea. They've been pissing off every creator, filmmaker, actor by just pushing all their movies to streaming, surprising them all. And notice, nothing I'm going to show you, HBO Max isn't mentioned at all. HBO, none of it. But Viacom is. Viacom owns Comedy Central, and that's a big one because they're the ones who actually own it. So what happened? So he asked his fans not to watch. Well, apparently they didn't. And in doing so, Chappelle's show has now returned to Netflix. You can now stream it on Netflix comfortably without Chappelle telling you that you're stealing it from him, which is what he went out there and told his fans. Now Netflix has gotten it. He's asked his fans to boycott, and based off what he called was a raw deal, and now he's going to get paid. So he had. Here's a direct quote. "When you stopped watching it, they called me," Chappelle said. "In the clip, I got my name back, I got my license back, and I got my show back. And they paid me millions of dollars. Thank you very much." Now, I know I don't have good Chappelle anything. If you want to watch him directly share this and a lot more, you can go watch his whole clip over on Netflix's YouTube, or I think it's also on Chappelle's Instagram, but it's called Redemption Song. It's been trending. Look up Dave Chappelle's Redemption Song, not Bob Marley's, and you can watch the whole 10-minute clip in its entirety. But it's a really wonderful clip. He does make some amazing things in it, as he often does. But regarding this deal point, I want to focus on that first. The fact that he's saying here he got his name back, I think, is what he sort of wanted. The fact that the Chappelle Show was so closely tied to him, right? It's like when you think of Dave Chappelle, we're always going to go there first. I mean, obviously stand-up, etc., but that project was Chappelle through and through. So he was able to get his name, his show back. He got his license back. He got his show back. All of this just means he now has control of the Chappelle Show again. And he's previously mentioned the fact that he would consider doing other sketch shows, but he can't because he'd be competing with himself, which he doesn't own. And there's also it sounded like competitive clauses of he can't do it because technically they own Chappelle's sketch show. So this has always been something that's clearly bothered him. Of course it's about the money. I'm sure it was about getting money and being respected, but it seemed more about like not getting screwed over by Viacom just because they took advantage of him. He's made it clear like he was broke when he took that deal. He was trying to raise his kids. He didn't have any other options, and so they sort of took advantage and he signed something that he regretted. And to be fair, he did one up on his DVD sales, but obviously that doesn't account for streaming. So for the fact that Viacom was able to go back and have this conversation with him and actually make him feel better, it just shows how the industry is changing. He thanked Ted Sarandos, the co-executive of Netflix, for having the courage to take my show off its platform at financial detriment to his company just because I asked him to. And then he thanked, which I think is the most surprising one, Chris McCarthy, the president of Viacom CBS's MTV Entertainment Group. In a statement, McCarthy said, "After speaking with Dave, I'm happy we were able to make things right." Officials at Viacom did not disclose the details of the new arrangement. I'm very curious what this means. Netflix did not immediately respond to requests for comment either. But the show obviously had been broadcasted on Comedy Central, as it says here, for 3 years, over 2 seasons. And he walked away from it sparking questions about how he could have abandoned what had been basically a $50 million deal to do that season 3. In 2006, after his departure, Chappelle showed Oprah Winfrey that he left the show in part because of the stress and because he felt conflicted about the material he was producing. "I was doing sketches that were funny, but were socially irresponsible." Chappelle said that he had been broke, expectant father when he signed the contract with Comedy Central, describing it as a raw deal. He framed his experience as emblematic, thank you, of an immoral corporate entertainment system that mistreats artists. And this is something you're starting to see all across entertainment, which Taylor Swift is doing by re-recording her music right now. Who is it? Kanye West is what I'm trying. Kanye West also currently in the midst of this. Chappelle now seems to have forgiven the company. Finally, after all these years, he said in the special, I can finally say to Comedy Central, it's been a pleasure doing business with you. Now, look, for Comedy Central to finally get that from Chappelle is huge. Imagine having such a huge star in your arsenal in this day of streaming rights and everything else, and the star hates your guts and is telling his fans not to watch his show. That's not good for business. The fact that Netflix realized that shows why they're doing so well. And Viacom clearly couldn't just put the show out and just steamroll over Dave Chappelle like they probably would other people, like they've done to countless stars in the past. This wasn't just a star of a show. He's the creator, producer, writer. He's the talent. It's his show, as he said. It's his name. So bravo to Viacom for finally wisely taking care of him. And so now all of you guys can watch Chappelle on Netflix. HBO Max, I saw it on there. He didn't mention that, but it sounds like he now is going to get a percentage of wherever it shows up. But he's clearly not. He has a beef with HBO given how they treated him, and I understand that. I think HBO, that when I showed my previous video, you should go watch it. The HBO guy, you could just tell how begrudgingly he was about, well, Chappelle's got his problems, yada yada yada. Not a good look, dude. If you're gonna cave, do it very positively and supportively, so Chappelle comes back. But I think HBO knows the writing on the wall. Like, their relationship with Chappelle is donezo. But Viacom, they own it. Now, could this mean they could finally maybe do a deal together? I can't imagine Viacom would want to give it to Netflix. The idea of another Chappelle show obviously is what a lot of fans are talking about. But there's complicated nature to that of Netflix is seeming to be probably where he'd want to do a show like that. But he'd have to get what does his license entail? That's the information that's not yet out, and it's going to obviously determine whether he's able to make a deal and take his show elsewhere. Because in theory, he has a license. He's saying here he was paid $1 million and he got his show back. He got his license back. Having a license could allow him to sell a show to Netflix. However, Paramount Plus, which is what Viacom's putting all their eggs into right now, are they going to want to let him do that? Probably, because he won't do it otherwise, and then they get no money. Whereas they could make some money licensing to Netflix. Netflix does license with other studios. They've been doing it for a while, and I'm sure they would make a deal with Viacom to say, fine, we'll do it, but we get exclusive rights, you get later rights. There's ways for it to currently happen now that leaves this news as very exciting. So what do you guys think? Do you think this is a sign that Chappelle will come back to more? Or do you think this is just sort of him just excited that he got the deal done? Do you think sketch is another thing that he would want to get back into? Curious your thoughts. Also, check out the whole show. He really gets into it. His comparison of the Capitol rioters to Colin Kaepernick is it'll start comments. Watch the tapes. Watch that crowd. Watch that crowd that told Colin he can't kneel during a football game, trying to a police officer to death with an American flag. Look at that. Dave Chappelle always making you think. Hard to ignore the hypocrisy in what Chappelle's saying there. There's a lot more, so go check out Redemption Song. It's a very important, I think, strong 10-minute piece about people when he got sick of the Rona, how people were wishing, just awful stuff. He managed to spin it all into the finale of revealing that he got his deal back, and it's really, I think, a really, really well done piece. I love when he does these sort of these sermons in a way. So check it out, Redemption Song over on YouTube. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. You can also smash that like button. Thank you guys so much for watching here on Popcorn Planet. Check out these videos if you haven't already, and stay tuned for more here on Popcorn Planet.